Okay, I am live now. And let me turn off that music and get to my normal background music. And as always, please just let me know if the volume is working out. Sometimes I've inadvertently made the background music a little too loud. I think it's the right volume. Okay, so this is yesterday I had a little bit of a surprise stream, and today's another I just woke up. It's almost noon, but I just woke up. I couldn't get to sleep last night, and as I always do, because I'm the moderator of so many drawing tablet subreddits, I went there, and I got a message from someone who had asked me to test subjectively test the IAF of the 1x Wacom tablet, CTL 672 with the LP-190K pen, and compare it to the other pens I have, because they're curious why I recommend the 1x Wacom so much. And I thought, I felt bad, because that was actually the original purpose of yesterday's stream, was to test that tablet and that pen. So as soon as I saw the message, I replied, and now 15 minutes later, I am streaming again, just to cover, to get that person's questions answered. Okay, so that's why I'm here. We can do anything else on top of that, but I am here. Okay, let's see. We have Conto has joining us. Greetings from Spain. Nice to see you. Juanjo Castellano. I think that's the first person from Spain I've had on this channel, so I'm very excited. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Conto, for telling me about the volume. So, again, we can cover any topic today, but what I'm going to do first is recap what I did yesterday. And when I say, by the way, I just woke up, I'm literally wearing the same shirt I was wearing when I streamed last night. So I haven't even cleaned up for the day yet. Okay, so yes, the question was, maybe broadening from the original question I was asked was, I'm very clear that I do not consider myself really good at IAF testing. And the reason for that is my equipment is not great, or I'm still learning how to do it in a repeatable way, because I don't feel I'm there quite yet. With some pens, I feel like I can, and with some, I have problems. And that's why I'm always very hesitant to say, here's what I measured with IAF. I always say, don't necessarily trust that measurement. Max pressure, anything above the IAF. Let's say anything 5 grams of force above, I'm like, yeah, you can count on my measurements. But below that, or below 3, it's questionable. So this person asked me, first of all, he wanted me to talk about this tablet because I recommend it so much. I'll talk about why I do. And we have Cube who measures the tablet. Now, he measures them using Open Tablet Driver, so there's a different tablet driver involved. And, I always defer to him, okay? And for most of you, it would be better if I were to be able to test IAF with the Wacom tablet driver and get a repeatable experience, okay? So I want to do that eventually. But leading up to that, he said, why don't you just tell us what it feels like? Because I do have a lot of pens. I have 107 something pens. Let's see. Juanjo says, professional artist and great fan of Wacom tablets. Same here. 1, 3, and Pro from 2017, Cintiq 24 Pro. Thank you for the nice comment on the channel. I love streaming about this topic. So I'm going to give you my subjective feeling, okay? And last night, where I landed was, I just try every pen I have, that I'm testing anyway, and I just tell you, I have 3 categories, okay? I'll say something is either low, meaning it's good, okay? And so the Wacom Pro Pen 2 is in that low category. It feels low IAF, which is good. And then there's what I'd call typical. Typical is like 3 gram force. That's a typical pen these days. That's a typical value. So am I measuring 3 gram force? No, I'm saying just feels typical, I guess, right? And then there's high, and there's some pens that have a high IAF, and we'll talk more about what exactly I mean when I say high IAF, but roughly speaking, it's just noticeable that you're pressing without a stroke. All pens, you're pressing some force and you might be able to feel it, but it's just much more noticeable when your IAF starts to get like 5, okay? Now those are how I would classify low, typical, and high. Notice I'm staying away from value judgments like good and bad, okay? And some people are fine. Now, I'm okay with low and typical. I can draw with either. Do I notice the difference? Absolutely. But I draw with lots of typical pens and I'm fine. Other people would have a very different classification, I think. I think if you, I asked, Cube provided a sort of scale. He redrew one of my diagrams and here's how I would classify. And I think probably he, with his background and how, his ability to detect IF, he would say there's just low and there's everything else is bad. He would not like even what I consider typical, okay? So there are, people fall on different places here. Some people can really detect it and it bothers them when the IAF is around 3 gram force, and some people are okay with it. I'm okay with it. I do believe I represent most people, but I know some people are more sensitive than I am. And not just Cube. There are artists who talk to me about, they definitely notice the low IAF of the Pro Pen too, okay? So I just want to keep that in mind. This is the way I think about it, okay? This is the way I think about it. And how can I best, I maybe need to do some illustrations here, but we'll get back to it. Let's just do the testing first, and let me show you where my data is, okay? Where did I put it? Okay, you can't see what I'm doing, but just give me a moment. Okay. So, my data is always public for everyone. I just want to show you what I collected yesterday. We'll go through it so it's clear. Let's see, I want this. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So this is a public OneDrive folder. It's literally called public. And in it, I have all sorts of things. I have a folder called data where I keep things that I share with you. For example, I maintain a hopefully accurate spreadsheet, what I call the drawing tablet database. Not a great name, but that contains, I'll just open it up just so you understand the data I do have available for you. It's the model name, model ID, and all this information, when the tablet launched, digitizer size. Now, some of these things I have to rely just on what the manufacturer says. So this is basically a database of specs, right? I haven't measured everything here. But because people ask me so many times, how do you compare these two tablets? And I look here. With AI can help you compare tablets much easier than this table can, but I still keep this. It's good for some research. Like I like to tell people, here's how sizes or resolutions have changed over the decades, right? Or when a pen was introduced, it's pretty easy to find out from this database. And it contains 205 different tablets are listed here. And surely that's not every tablet in the world, but it's a lot. And then I also have my inventory, just so everyone knows. There's two worksheets here. There's pens, so I have, how many pens do I have? Oh, 132 pens. So I thought I had 107, but it's actually more than that. And you can tell I have an inventory number for each one of them, and I have a lot of tablets. And I think one's missing from this list. Ignore the color coding. That was me just doing something. I have 107 tablets. I think that might actually be 108. And this doesn't even include like standalone tablets. Okay, so I have a lot of tablets. And then finally, you can see I have a spreadsheet here called subjective IAF. Okay, notice it has the word subjective, and I'm just going to tell you what I found yesterday, and then we're going to add information about the other tablets. So pink is the Wacom, blue is Huion pens, and XP pen is in purple. Okay, maybe can I zoom this in a little bit for you? Oh. Yeah, here we go. That should be a little easier for you to read. Let me explain what it is you're seeing here. So let's just start with the first line, okay? So I'm testing a Wacom pen, in this case the Pro Pen 3, and it's, let me just, because I like making sure the model numbers are there, ACP 500, so, okay? When you're in the tablet game, you learn these numbers, these model numbers. And so that's the Pro Pen, the Wacom Pro Pen 3. I didn't test one pen. I tested, let me double check actually. I tested like 10 of them, basically. Either 9 or 10, but I believe it was 10. And so each one I drew on this tablet, the Intuos Pro Small, which I have right in front of me. Oops, there it is, okay. And I just drew on my tablet testing app, which I wrote the code for, so I know exactly what it does. I know it's not interfering with the tablet. And I asked myself just one simple question. Does it feel low or typical or high? And I had to think about this as I did it, because I've never done this test before, okay? So, I tested 10 units of this pen. Not one, 10. And so low means, listen, in a specific pen, there might be a variation in 10 units, but as a set, they were low, okay? As a set, they were low. Pro Pen 2, this is KP504E. I tested with I only have 5 of them. I technically have, I have 6 of them. I technically have 7, but one of them has a metal nib, and I specifically dropped that pen to test what would happen to IAF. So that IAF is messed up, so I didn't test it because it'd be an unfair test. It also scored low. I couldn't tell these really apart in terms of IAF, okay? CP913, this is the Wacom 1 pen, and CP923, the Wacom 1 standard pen, the newer pen. This one surprised me. I tested it on the same tablet, by the way. They both ended up high. Strangely enough, counterintuitively for me, it felt like the CP923 was on the lower end of high, meaning they were both in the high category. I don't know what gram force that means, but I could notice I was pressing before a stroke was drawn. And in my mind, the CP923 was just a little bit lower, which surprised me. I did not expect that. I thought it would be the opposite. I'll do this test a couple of times more. I just want to share with you what surprised me. Okay, I did 4 different Huion pens. PW600, I have 6 of them. PW550, PW517, PW550. Okay, so first surprise of the day was, and I tested this on the Canvas 13 Gen 3. The PW600 I felt was very low. Now, and again, I tested 6 units, not just 1, 6 units. Now, this is interesting because we think that the IAF of the Wacom Pro Pen is less than 1 gram force. And we know that Wacom has a little bit of a pressure dead zone in the driver. And I didn't change anything because I want to give you what's the default experience. But the effect of a dead zone in the driver is it increases the IAF a little bit, okay? In any case, by default, the experience I had with the PW600 pen series was very low. In fact, I would say I would have a hard time telling apart the Pro Pen 3 and Pro Pen 2 from the PW600 in terms of IAF, okay? PW550, I felt it was a little higher at typical. PW517, this surprised me. I thought it would be actually high, but it's actually typical. Let's see. Insane Konto has a comment. I'm currently having a weird experience between Pro Pen 2 and PW550. PW550 feels better? Not sure if it's because I've gotten used to it, as I haven't used Pro Pen 2 in years. Well, interesting. I sympathize with the feeling. Sometimes I'm drawing so much with the Huion pen to the XP pen. Sometimes I just kind of, I'm used to that experience, right? And I end up, some ways liking it more than the Pro Pen. Okay, and the final pen was an older pen from the PW500. And it's from an older tablet, the HS611. And it was high. It was actually not as high as I expected. For example, it wasn't as high as the CP913, okay? So Wacom overall did good. Remember, I'm only testing the IAF, not the max pressure. That's another important part of pens. Then we have the XP pen, the X3 Elite, P05. Sorry, let me say it in a different order. X3 Elite, X3 Pro, and then P05. X3 Elite, I found it typical. I'm totally happy with it. It was typical. The P05, which is an older pen, I found it high. And the X3 Pro, I have 12 units of that, okay? I found it typical. Maybe just slightly on the higher end. Okay, just slightly on the higher end. Okay. So, maybe we should just talk a minute about what high IAF means and what it feels like. It would mean that, again, you feel drawing. You'll notice that as you start your stroke, even though you feel the pressure start, here, the stroke doesn't start until here. So you're moving the pen. So there's a gap, and that's because you started off under the pressure, under the IAF, and then hit the IAF later on. Or as you're drawing and you're trying to draw a large stroke, it may go in and out, and that's another sign if you have a high IAF. Okay, because it's easy to suddenly go under the IAF because you're not sure where it is. Okay, so I noticed that more in the X3 Pro, which surprises me. It surprised me, right? Again, it's in the typical range. It's slightly, so I definitely think, for example, that it's higher than the PW517 or the PW5, right? It's slightly higher. I don't think, and I think it matches when I think back about using the X3 Pro pens, that matches my overall experience. And I like the pen. You need to know, I do like the pen. Okay, so now you know all that. One more thing I want to tell you about how I tested. So let's find a pen here. Oh, let me reply. Someone, I am doing, I can do that. Someone wanted me to know if I'll do another. Oh, and let me tell, I forgot to tell them that I'm live streaming and give them the link. So let me give them the channel. Hang on a second. I think someone else wants to join us. I just want to make sure that they have the link. Get shareable link. That's stream, okay. So someone wants me to test the walk-on-one devices. Totally happy to do that also. Okay. And that's good because I want to reinvestigate maybe some of those CP913, 923 pens. Okay. Okay. So now, since someone has added that, let me just insert one column to the left, which is testing date or date tested. Which was yesterday, what was yesterday? The 17th. Because I'm going to add another, other columns here. Or other rows that are today. Okay, the colors got messed up a little bit. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, let me get some water. Okay, to recalibrate my brain, I am going to start again with the Pro Pen 2, right? And let me just figure out which tablets I have here. Fortunately, these are all screen tablets. Screenless tablets, so pen tablets. So it's a bit easier for me to connect without disrupting my stream. Hi, Mir. Glad you can join us. Okay, let's see. So again, this is just to recalibrate my brain. And I believe if I go here, you can see my setup. Yeah, you can see. You gotta love the autofocus of this thing. Hang on a second. I like to show the hand because I just want you to be sure something's happening. It's otherwise kind of a boring to see me make some like weird strokes on the screen. Okay, let's get this, my remote control for the camera here. And let us, okay. I'll zoom it in a little bit so you'll see less of my head, more of the tablet, maybe a little bit more of the tablet. And let me move the keyboard off to the side maybe. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Okay. So my volume went up. Hopefully, I don't think you heard anything. Okay, so I'm going to test it with the Pro Pen 2, and not the Pro Pen 3. And the reason is we have the most sort of community knowledge about the Pro Pen 2. And I have the most experience with the Pro Pen 2. And Cube has measured the Pro Pen 2, the IAF. Okay? Mirror, the topic is for me to go through my pens and identify subjectively whether the IAF is low or typical or high. So like a Pro Pen 2 would be low, right? And I'm going to retest the Pro Pen 2 right now. And that's what we're doing. And I'll take any questions. And I'll test any tablets and pens people ask me to test it. Okay? So what I need to do is get to my tester. There we go. I got the tester. Okay? So let me just take one of the Pro Pen 2 pens. Yeah, it's moving. Yep, it's bound to that screen. And I'm doing this just to refresh my brain on Pro Pen 2. What's it feel like, okay? One of the other heuristics about IAF is how hard is it to avoid drawing? If it's easy to, you know you're pressing down, is it easy to avoid making a stroke? If it's easy, the IAF is high. If it's not easy, like you're struggling to avoid making a stroke, then the IAF is low. And this pen is very sensitive, right? Like, I have to try very hard to scrape the pen where I can't, I have to try very hard to scrape so lightly that it won't draw. One more thing about this test you should know about, because this does matter. In fact, I'll draw it for you. How's that? Okay. When a pen is like this, okay, and here's the tablet, this is, it's most sensitive, okay? So it's most sensitive in this case. When the pen is slightly tilted, when like your normal drawing angle, it's less sensitive. Sensitive. Okay? So this is going to be sorry, let me erase this. This is going to be the lowest IAF. And this is going to be slightly higher. And it's important you know that, because when people test IAF, they are testing in a completely vertical position. Okay? Rain, yes, I think you mean Pro Pen 3, yes. I am absolutely still preferring it. And part of that is because I'm using the slim version, and so I do like it, right? So I am doing this test in a natural drawing position, meaning like this, right? About 45 degrees, just as anyone else would draw. So it varies between 45 and let's say 40 degrees or whatever. But again, this is how people would actually draw, right? I am not trying to carefully do this testing. I'm just drawing like a normal human being, okay? And this is how normal human beings draw, so this is how I did the test. Okay? And even at this angle, and what, by the way, why is that? We think the reason it happens like that with tilt is that the nib is pressing up, not just going through the tablet, but it's pressing up against the barrel inside. So some of the force is not getting to the sensor. So that's why we say that, I haven't tested this out. I can, but I haven't quantified it. So, it's very hard for me to avoid. Now, I'm going to do something which might seem confusing to you, which is, right now, let me erase this. Right now, the thinner I press, and the harder I press, the bigger the stroke, okay? Now, what happens is, sometimes the line is so thin, you don't realize that I'm actually drawing. Like, it's just too thin. So I'm actually going to not change the size by pressure, okay? So if you see, so this is not, I'm pressing hard, I'm pressing thin, you're not seeing a difference. I'm just going to say that if there's any pressure at all, it's going to draw, okay? Because people get misled by the size of the stroke and they think that something's wrong with the pressure. All you need to know is whether something is drawn or not. Doesn't matter how thick it is, okay? I hope that makes sense. It'll just make it easy, otherwise you'll you'll not be sure if I'm drawing when I'm drawing at really low IAF. So it's very hard for me it's very easy for me to draw. It's very hard for me to avoid drawing. I can do it, but I have to try, like kind of hard. And you see these little gaps here? That is when, like here, those gaps are when I am dancing around the IAF, okay? And I'm dancing a lot because I'm struggling, right? I'm struggling to get those gaps. With a high IAF pen, the gaps happen pretty accidentally, right? I don't have to try very hard, okay? So overall, so this is, I'll test all 6, just to get my brain wired back up into this, okay? And of course, as you draw, you know, you're not always holding it 45 degrees. If I do this, it's becoming more vertical. So that's another thing that's going on. So sometimes the angle is more vertical than 45. I'll try to keep it consistent between the pens. So slightly off vertical. Again, I have to struggle to not draw. That's the second pen. Yeah, third pen. Again, I'm just doing this to refresh my brain. And I'm going to do one more test actually on this, just to, because I know something's going on in the driver and I just want to show you what that is. Let's see. I want the Wacom driver. Okay. Wacom center will do it. Okay, Wacom center is over here. And everyone, this is a Mac OS 26. So if you do, please make sure you install the latest Wacom driver, okay? Pro Pen 2. And if you look at the Pro Pen 2's pressure curve, there's a slight dead zone here, okay? On tip. So it's actually ignoring a little bit of pressure. I'm just going to turn it off for a minute. Is it off or not? I can't tell anymore. Click threshold. Why am I not able to edit this? Yeah, I moved it a little bit to the left. Okay. That should reduce the effective IAF. Or it stopped inhibiting it. And I'll just see if that makes any difference at all. Because I know it does come up for people. I'll try all 6 pens again. Real quick, I'll just try real quick. All 6 pens again. I'll be honest, it's not making too much of a difference. I wouldn't be able to tell, honestly. Okay, there we go. I did that. Okay, so that was the Pro Pen 2. I've recalibrated my brain, and I would say yes, I can see why they're low. Okay? So let's put the pens back. And yeah, here we go. Okay, now I'm gonna try. Let me move this thing here. Let me see if that person is going to. Okay. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try the. This is the Wacom Intuos medium CTL 6100 WL. Pretty good tablet. Though technically, I always say the Wacom one is better. The only thing this has really is that buttons are there. And let me plug it in. Where is the okay, the port's up here. Oh, it needs a special cable. I totally forgot about that. That's another irritation about this. Okay, give me a second. Let me get the adapter for this. Yeah, I got the adapter to. So this port on the Intuos is a micro USB, and usually I just use this adapter, micro USB to USB-C. Yeah, it's clunky looking. It's not very elegant, but it does work. But I do need a little more cable length here. I hate micro USB. I hate micro USB. Okay, let's skip all this nonsense. Mapping, map it to one display. This one, apply. Force proportions. Remember, turn force proportions on. Turn force proportions on. Okay. Okay, so we're good. Pen, let's just take a look at the pressure curve. Well, for some reason, Wacom doesn't want to show you a pressure curve for these pens. So everything's just set to its defaults. We've confirmed that. And now I'm going to try the, what is it, the LP-1100K. That's the pen for this. I got 3 of those. Okay. So, oh, let me move this out of the way now. Close window and get back to my tester. Here it comes. Pen number 1. Well, Mir, at least you discovered that. It took me 20 years to discover I was using drawing in a distorted way. Right now, in my mind, looking at these 3 pens, LP-110K, I am noticing that I have to press a little bit harder. I'm pressing without drawing a little bit more than the Pro Pen 2. And you can see I'm doing, there's more dropouts actually. And overall it's light. I would say this pen is, and I'm drawing relatively vertical right now. At 45 degrees, is there a difference? I would say that these 3 pens, to my hands, felt typical, right? Perhaps even on the slightly higher end of typical. So I'm just gonna write that typical down. I know, Mir, I know. It takes, I'm slowly trying to fix that. Unfortunately, the problem is I can't easily move things. I mean, I can move them so that they're normal, but when I do it, I can't make them consistent with the other screens. So I have to set aside time to do that. Okay, So let me tell you right now, for Wacom, this is, I think it's called the 4K pen. LP-1100K. And I tested 3 units on 9/18/2025. And I tested on a, let me double check. I should know this, but CTL 6100WL. 6100WL. I will say typical. I'll just leave it at typical. Okay? Meaning not low, but just typical. And not bad. I can draw with this, right? I can draw with this. And let me color it correctly so that it's the right Wacom color. And let me fix the other colors as well. Now that I'm here. Okay, so that was today, typical. Okay? Now, what about, I disconnected this the wrong way. Okay. Now what about the one by Wacom? It's model number, so CTL 672, CTL 472. Now I do say this is a great tablet, and I just want to explain some of why. First of all, Cube does measure the IAF very low with the pen, the LP-190K. The second reason is we just have a lot of eyes on this tablet, a ton of eyes, and not average eyes. We have the most. We have, what's the right word here? You know, there's people who have an intensity when they look at something and they're evaluating it. We have the most intense eyes examining and using this tablet in very high performance ways. These people are OSU players, and they're very sensitive about this tablet and how the pen works. Way more than artists are. And they have a, I would say, a community understanding. This is the GOAT tablet for OSU. Okay, passionate. 3 polygons, thank you. Passionate, right? And because we have so many eyes on that, and they can talk about the tablet and they've investigated it. It's not just me. My statement that it's a GOATed tablet comes also from that set of people. Okay, and nerd eyes, yes. So I just want to let you know that's how we got to that position. Okay, now this cable is really too small for this. I'm going to move my keyboard a little bit. I need to get a longer cable for this. I don't want to use Bluetooth because just in case it's going to add latency and mess with my mind. Okay, so now I'll go back to the tester. Or let's go back to the Wacom Center first, actually. Sorry. Where is Wacom Center? Wacom Center. One by Wacom. Let's go to mapping. Map, select one display. I'm kind of liking the Wacom Center these days, honestly. It's busy, but you know, the more you use tablets, the more you realize that the drivers cannot be simple. They actually have to. Oh, okay, 3 polygons. Sure. We'll explain a little bit what's going on. Okay. I was talking about the Intuo. So the meta topic is I'm doing subjective IAF testing of a number of tablets. I did it yesterday, and someone wanted me to follow up on some tablets and pens today. So right now I'm testing the one by Wacom CTL 672. And so for each pen, I'm just drawing with every pen I have, and I'm saying, what's the IAF feel like to me? Is it low, typical, or high? For me, I can draw with low and typical. Some people prefer just low, and some people will be okay with high. No one would prefer it, but I think they'll be okay with it. So that's the purpose of this. So we just got done with the Intuos tablet, and now we're doing, I'll just write the name. This is the tablet we were just doing. Intuos Medium CTL 6100WL. Okay? And all this data is published. I will make a video also about my experience, and I would make sure everyone understands you shouldn't consider this the final authority or the final, here's the end of my beliefs. You should consider this more a start of a 6-month experiment, let's say, maybe a year experiment, where I periodically try these tablets and and we'll see how my feelings change over the year, okay? And I'd encourage you to, I know this is a weird thing, but if you have multiple pens, try them and see if you can come up with some classification. I do believe I probably have more pens than any other human on Earth, drawing tablet pens, so it may be hard for people to contribute, but if you can, please do. Or another thing you can do is, if you have the opportunity to try just the 2 different pens in a store or a retail location or a friend's house or a school, try it. Just see what you think. The problem is that pens vary so much individually that it's hard, it's hard maybe to get a clear consensus. Okay, our next is the one by Wacom CTL672, a goated tablet. I recommend this tablet a lot for people. Let me get the right pen. And the pen it uses is the... I don't know if you can see that. It's the... I guess you can see it here. LP-190K. You like my pen stands? They're color-coded. So red tape on my Wacom pens on a red 3D printed stand. Okay, so now let's see what I feel. This first pen is actually in the high range. Let's try the next pen. This next one is in the typical range. On the higher end. Also in the typical range on the higher end. Okay. So this is what it felt like to me. Wacom. This is called the 2K pen, I believe. LP-190K. I tested 3 of these on this date. And with the one by Wacom medium CTL 672. And I would call these typical, slightly on higher end. Okay. So we have our first now mystery. Or discrepancy. So, by the way, so nothing here is bad about these. I still recommend these tablets. There's nothing wrong. When Cube measures the pens for the LP-190K, he is getting... we can take a look, actually, just to double check, because I want you to... And remember, he's testing with the open tablet driver, and open tablet driver doesn't do anything weird with the pressure, okay? I can try open tablet driver, too. We can do that. But I think I'll save that for another session. 3 polygons. High IAF means you have to press harder. Low IAF means low pressure. High IAF means you have to press harder. So you want low IAF. You want low IAF. Where is... Let's take a look at Cube's numbers. Oops, where's my Cube? I've got Cube in my documentation. It's in his Wacom tablet master sheet. Okay, so I'll just open up his master sheet. So I just want you to see, when I always refer to his numbers, what am I referring to? right? So let's just take a look. He's got, I think it's, so there's different tabs here. Oh, the, what do you call this? The stupid dock's in the way. I hate that thing. I guess I can maximize it, huh? Isn't there an easy way to maximize things now? Okay, Wacom Pen Master Sheet. Konto says, I probably got used to the high IAF on the PW550 and now PP2 feels too fluid. Yeah, when you switch from high to low, it's a different experience. Also, there's less lag. As far as we can tell, there's less, I believe, and this is again subjective, there's less lag, pointer lag, with the Wacom tablets than the Huyans. Slightly, very slightly less, right? 3 polygons. Okay, you gotta go. If you gotta go, you gotta go. Yeah, hope you'll visit us soon, and yeah, curious on your comments on the video on demand. Mir, do you have to leave too? 2 more years before you graduate, huh? Okay, let's get back to I'm gonna click on Pen Master Sheet. I just want to read to you what he's got here, right? So, and I think he's got, for some of these pens he has multiple pens, but I think for these two, for example, he has just one. So, for the CP923, let's just take a look. So how he writes it is, I have 4,000, sorry, I know this is maybe hard to read, so let's see if I can zoom in for you all. How's that? Okay, hopefully that's a bit better. He writes 4,000 pressure levels, and he measures approximate physical pressure range of like 0.01%, 21%, 25, 50, 75, 100%, okay? So we're focused on IAF. So for this pen, CP923, he found 8 gram force. CP913 found 5 gram force, okay? So what we're gonna scroll down and find, what did he find about the LP-190K and 1100K? So he found them to be less than 1 gram force, which is interesting, right? Because to me, they feel like a more typical pen. Now, why might that be? I am definitely using a subjective, very different methodology than he is, okay? He is using a scale, by the way. He's not guessing. And I've seen a photo of his contraption, and he can measure very low pressure consistently, right? So the reasons could be the driver. It could be because I'm being inconsistent with how I'm holding the pen. And his test, I believe, completely vertical. Mine is, of course, kind of shifting between like this as I draw. But it's a discrepancy now between this number and the 190. That's right, in my numbers, right? And take a look at the Pro Pen 2, because he's got here KP504. Here it is. He measures it less than 1 gram force, and he's measured a lot of Wacom pens, professional pens, at less than 1 gram force, right? So I think this is one of our challenges with IAF measurement, is that there's measurements and then there's like, what's it feel like? And then there's the driver involved, right? So these are all like things we have to think about. For example, the driver may be adding a dead zone, right? And the open tablet driver doesn't add any dead zone. So that may be part of the experience. Now, there's 2 schools of thought. One school of thought says I should talk about the pure hardware of the pen, like only use open tablet driver, and the problem, and that's a good approach for like technically understanding what the pen is capable of. The disadvantage of that approach is the vast majority of you I know are not using open tablet driver. Okay, you're using the brand driver you use, which is the Wacom driver, and it has a default. It may have different defaults than you'd expect. So I tend to, when I am talking to you right now about the subjective IAF, I'm just, what does the normal driver tell you? What's the normal behavior the driver gives you? Okay, what's the normal person's experience with a pen? Okay, so this is the mystery of IAF. Okay, I need some water. Let me check the Discord. I think someone wanted me to test one more tablet. Wacom One devices. Yeah, okay, and let me just tell him It's oddness. Welcome. One devices. Okay. So, actually, now that I mentioned all this, it's probably good to state explicitly the driver involved, okay? So let me insert a column to the left. Driver. We want to be scientific, right? So this is the Wacom driver. Wouldn't paste for a second. And the XP pen driver. Oops, pasted the wrong thing. And let's get Huion over there. Because I'm eventually going to add Open Tablet driver to this, okay? But not today, not today. Kanto, you think that's the right approach? To test with the normal brand drivers? And I just feel like that's going to give the normal person a better idea what's going to happen, right? Because if you have to install something special to get low IAF, then it's kind of weird. Okay. So, I think based on my personal experience, I will revise my documentation about the Wacom 1. Sorry, the 1 by Wacom and the Intuos, and talk realistically their pens are more typical in normal behavior, even though when they're tested on with all different Open Tablet driver, the pens are pretty good, okay, in terms of IAF, according to Cube, who's an expert at testing low IAF. Remember, I am not. Okay, so this is good. We've discovered that. Now, Otnus wanted me to test the 1 by Wacom. So, I have one of those. Give me a second. Let me bring it over, and we'll start testing it. Okay, I am back, and I have the Wacom 1 pens, right? CP913, oops, you can't see the numbers, CP913 and CP923, and so I have 4 of the CP913, 3 of the CP923, and I'm going to try it with the 1 by Wacom tablet. Oh, sorry, not the Wacom 1 tablet, sorry. And this is effectively the successor to the Intuos tablet. I don't recommend the tablet. I want to make sure you know that. And the reason for it is there's still some weirdness with how pressure is handled. They've improved it. There's some like you'll see it. You'll see it. I'll make sure you can see it. It's just hard to explain. Once you see it visually, then you'll understand. Wacom has improved it significantly with a firmware update, but I just feel like it's got to be better. It's got to be better. So, let's try it here. Oh, yeah, it doesn't need this micro USB. Okay. Connect it. Let's skip all this nonsense, get to mapping, and make sure you can see what I'm doing. Select the one display. Yup. Apply. Force proportions off. There we go. All good. Now let's hit it. I'll test 4 CP913s. This is the older pen, okay? And let me just see. Remember, I found this. Okay, you see? Let me try to explain to you what's happening here, because you're seeing me draw some strokes. See this last stroke? Okay, I'm gonna draw a dot, okay, or circle. I started drawing here before the stroke started drawing. It's not a lag problem. It's that I was pressing too lightly, okay? Of course, pressing more heavily will mean it starts exactly where I press, but when you're trying to draw with light pressure, you'll see the stroke begin a little bit later than you'd expect, okay? And if I try to draw light, you see it cuts out every now and then, right? And the reason it cuts out is I'm dipping underneath the IAF, okay? So this is 1 of 4. You can definitely scrape on the tablet. I can even hear it, and it's not drawing, right? I'm not saying I'm scraping hard. I'm just saying it's obvious it's not registering anything, okay? Obvious. What about this? Third pen. Pretty much the same thing. Fourth pen. It's very easy not to draw, even while I'm pressing, okay? So that would be high IAF. And let me go back to this. I'm gonna copy this row first and paste it. I hope that works, okay? So this is 918. And this is with the Wacom 1 medium. I always forget the number. CTC 6110 WL. So it's high. It's high, right? Clearly high. Now let's try the newer CP923 pen. Delete this and try it out. It is in the high range. That's the first pen. Second pen. Okay, these are also in the high range, and so my results are actually similar to what I found last night. And that is, it feels exactly the same actually, or close enough. This is what I found last night. It's on the low end of high. .918, one by Wacom medium. On the low end of high. Okay? So consistent with what I found yesterday. They're both high, but just I felt I didn't have to press quite as hard with the CP923. And this is another thing that if you look at Cube's, it doesn't align with the data Cube has collected. He found his 923 to be higher in its IF. Now he has one unit, but and so this could just be the variance of a specific pen, right? It may not be indicative of every pen. Okay, Atna should be joining us to talk about one by Wacom 1, so we'll see. Hopefully he'll be on stream in a second. So let me get back to the spreadsheet. And let me find the... Okay, so this is interesting. Probably not what I expected. Is there any other 10s I want to test? Hey, I have an inventory. I can actually check and see if there's anything else. Any other pens I want to think about testing. I tested so many. I just tested these. I covered a lot of these already. I didn't do the S pens, but I did that a few days ago. And there I collected numbers. Sense Labs, I collected numbers and I found them to be in the typical range. So it's good, like 3 gram force. So I don't need to test that. We just did this. And we did all, yeah, we tested a lot of pens. Let me, this should be the full list. How many did I test? I tested 67 pens. Okay. And the other Wacom pens I have are sort of in the, they're old, like, you know, Intuos 3 pens, etc. So I'm not going to bother testing them. These are the pens you'd actually encounter in the market today. Let's fix the color here. Okay, so that's what we got. That's what we got for testing. And let me check that Reddit commenter to see if he's... Oh, hang on. Oh, that was not what I hoped. Okay. Let me check if... Sorry, I need to check something on Reddit to see if a request was handled. Agnes is here. Okay, Agnes, tell me what you want me to talk about, and you can see my numbers. Okay, so basically, with the 1 by Wacom, I found the CP913 to be high, meaning like, I don't know, if I had to guess, most people would notice they have to press. Maybe it's 5 gram force. CP93 was a little bit less. Still high, but on the lower end of high. Okay, my request was not handled by Reddit. We'll deal with that later. Okay, so the discovery here was, first of all, that I found these both to be high, both on the 1 by Wacom and the Wacom 1 medium. And they're both high, and that kind of aligns with Cube's measurements, which I have here. But I kind of have these in reverse, where I found the CP913 had a higher IAF than the CP923. But we have to keep in mind that he's testing with Open Tablet Driver, and he's testing very vertically, and I was testing more in a normal drawing way. Okay? Konto says almost... do you want me to test on OTD, Atnas? I'll do it. Yeah, let me do it. Okay? But people have to be patient with me because I have to install OTD. Okay, and that itself takes a little bit of time. So let me move some things out of the way. And we'll do it. I'm happy to install and try things. Okay, so honest, you do want me to do it, so I will do it. That's what we're here for. We're tablet scientists. We are. Right? You know, while I'm setting this up, I want to tell you about one of the greatest scientists I ever heard about. And I guess, I don't know, people would call him an incel today. I'm not sure. I don't know, he's in the 1700s, maybe 1800s, I can't remember. And in a sense, his story is very inspirational to me. His name was Henry Cavendish. And back then, people wanted to know the density of the Earth. Okay? How much the Earth weighed. Okay? Now, at this time, I believe they knew about Newton and gravity. They understood it, but they didn't know the gravitational constant. And his goal was not actually to find the gravitational constant. It was to measure the density of the Earth, or thus the weight. But through that, you eventually find the gravitational constant. Okay? I'm looking for a laptop. Okay, I think I found it. Now, why do I bring this story up? Because this guy is like a nobleman. And he's rich. But he's a recluse. Like, he doesn't want to... He built a shed. I'm exaggerating, but he built like a shed in his backyard. And he suspends these, like, two metal balls from a torsion balance. And he sees how they wiggle. How these things just twist. Right? Because it's like two balls, a rod connected to them, a wire. And he's just looking at the wiggle. And he can't be in the shed. He has to look through like a hole in the shed with like a telescope, I guess, or something. And by looking at how much things wiggle, he's able to determine effectively the density of the Earth, thus its weight, thus the gravitational constant G. So I like that story because he writes about it, and he writes very well. But also, he's just a guy in his backyard who was dedicated to this task. And I was very inspired by that, because that's the way I feel when I do all this tablet testing. Okay, let's bring up this. So it's going to take a while for me to set up this. So I don't have too much exciting things to show you. Maybe I can show you the overhead of what's going on here. Maybe this is... yeah, this might be at least somewhat interesting for you to see. Otherwise, you're going to be bored to death. So yeah, with primitive tools, he was able to do something amazing, right? You wouldn't guess that in a shed, you would be able to figure all this out. And I think that is amazing. And so in a sense, we're trying to do that here. We're trying to measure something that really we don't have a lot of insight into. And that's why it's very exciting for me. Okay, there's a few more comments. Yeah, we have to rule out if it's the driver. Yeah, that's a good point. And I'll try on the Samsung tablets as well. You like the history lesson? Yeah, I'll try it. But let's try OTD first, because it'd be good to maybe resolve. Let me just see how hard it's going to be to install OTD. I hope it's installed on this thing. Okay. So let me see here. Okay, let me... hang on a second. This is so crazy. Where's my... I'll just do this. Okay, I just gotta do some logging in, logging out stuff, okay? I may need to reboot this as well. So what driver do I have installed here? I don't see that I have a driver installed, which is good because that just simplifies my life. Do I have OTD here? Let's take a look at the C drive. It may actually be installed. If it is, I'll be really happy. Let's just start it up here. It's not freaking out. Let me connect a driver to it. I need a tablet. Let's connect a random tablet first. Sorry, oh, you're not seeing me, okay. OTD is actually running. I think I may have coincidentally installed it a bit earlier on this machine. Test something, which is good because it saves me from the complicated process. Where is the USB-C? Okay, let's just connect this and see what happens. I'm first just trying to verify that OTD works correctly, and then we'll make it work for our testing. This is okay. Oops, I'm pressing a key accidentally. Does it work? It detects the tablet. Oh, I'm using the wrong pen, aren't I? Okay, that was funny. Yeah, okay, we're good here. Okay, we've got tablets that work. Okay, so what do I want to test? Just to remind me on this, I want to test the CP913 and 923. Right, on the open tablet driver. Any other tablets I should test it on? I'm wondering. Okay, let me move this stupid cable out of the way here. Now for this, I got to figure out how to show it to you. So you got to bear with me for a moment as I do this. Okay. Yeah, let's hear it, Nick. Let's hear your question. Happy to hear it. And let me just double check. That's the laptop. Okay. Come on. Crazy. Let's see. Now I want to get... That's the overhead. That's that. I'm not getting the right view I want of the laptop. That's not it. No. Why am I not seeing the thing I'm... Oh, I see. Of course. Okay, hang on. I was wondering why you're not seeing what I wanted you to see. But now I know. Yeah, I was doing what I should be doing. Okay, now things should be correct. There we go. Okay, so you're looking at Open Tablet Driver on. Okay, so Atlas says any UD-EMR pen on any Wacom One tablet with different driver. Okay, there we go. We'll do it. Okay, so this Open Tablet Driver will do the same exact test. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Nick has a question as well. I've been watching his comparison of Moving Pad and XP Pen MDP, and some guy in the comments gave info that you can actually use Moving Pad with a PC with the help of one program and USB connection. What's like, you're using the Moving Pad as a tablet or as a monitor? Could you help clarify? I haven't seen all of Tila's videos. I missed that. I just saw like the beginning. Okay, let me make sure Open Tablet Driver is configured for Windows Ink Absolute Mode, which I think I need for pressure. Let's make sure I am drawing in a what is it called? Lock aspect ratio? Is that it? Or is it? I forgot how all this works. Hang on. I would expect this to change to show me the right thing here. Why isn't this showing 1.5 like this? Shouldn't it? Am I just crazy? Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As long as it's just drawing, the fact that it's a slight distortion doesn't affect anything. So I won't dive too deep into it. Let's go and find my, this should sync up in a second. There we go. Tools, tester. Okay. And Ottness is answering Nick's question. I did so earlier today with Super Display. It's possible and it's not bad. It's just not as good as native, but it works. Okay. So, Wacom 1CP913 pen with the, you can see me draw, right? Okay, let's just try it out. We'll do the CP913s first, then the CP923s, and let's figure out what happened. So 913s first, let's hit it. I don't have pressure. Why is, well, it's drawing, but it should be actually changing the size of the stroke. That's fine. So pressure's not working, I can tell. But that's okay. We can actually something not configured correctly. I don't know what it is. Let's just go to tablets and tablet debugger. So Open Tablet Driver is getting the pressure. So I know this is not going to look fun for you because you can't see me drawing, but I can see the pressure number at the bottom, right? So I'll just tell you from the pressure number, okay? So the question is, and again, I know this is not visually exciting, okay? Does the pressure number go from 0 to 1 easily? Let me see if I can find something that will draw correctly. I'm not sure why this thing is not. Oh, what happened there? I just lost the pen. Oh, maybe it's because let's try it again. Why is it not working? Something's just wrong with my tool or the configuration here. I'm not sure. Let me try it again. Did I turn something off in Open Tablet Driver? Okay, I'll just go back to the tablet debugger for right now. I will say it, okay, let me do the other 3 pens. Again, you're not seeing. It feels, I would say, on this, the CP913 with open tablet driver feels more typical. More typical. Not high, but maybe just typical. So there seems to be some difference. I can't say it's a crazy amount of difference, but I will test the Pro Pen 2 again, okay? So now I'm going to do the CP923. And again, I know you can't see it, but the number on the bottom pressure is going from 0 to something. They feel more similar here. Right? Again, this could just be me. It may not be like a, it may not be an issue of there's actually a difference in the driver or not. But to me, they just feel, and I'm not getting the visual feedback as well, right? One thing's really curious. I just want you, again, you're gonna pay attention to the pressure number. I'm gonna draw with the CP913 and I want you to see what happens here. You see the numbers? They get from 0 and it jumps up pretty high to 70, right? Same here with another CP9. This one jumps up to almost 200, okay? So it's a sudden jump. Okay, so that was interesting, because if you look at the CP913, I noticed a weird behavior. I'm going to draw a light and just see what number pops up a lot. 1. 1. There's lots of 1s there. And then here, again, I'm hitting 1 a lot, right? And then it goes up. There's quite a bit of pressure range that's accounted for by the pressure value of 1. Okay? So the pressure value of 1 is overrepresented in the CP913 on this tablet. Very interesting. Okay, let's see. Let's see the comments here. Yeah, I agree with you. It can be the tablet firmware. Something weird is going on. Like, I shouldn't see 1 that often on 4 separate pens. Because think about it. Do you know how hard it is for a human being to target exactly 1 pressure level? Right? It is very hard. And with the CP913 pen on this tablet, I'm able to do that pretty easily. CP923 has a different behavior. It sort of jumps up. Instead of going to 1, it just gives me a higher number. So something is different. Something about how these pens are dealt with is different. Okay, Nick has... Okay, Nick says, wanted to request you test the moving pad as a tablet for PC. You mean with, are you saying with Super Display? Nick, is that what you mean? Yeah, I'll definitely test the MDP, and then, which I don't need Super Display for, and I'll test the moving pad as well. I do think that the MDP, it behaved more like a generic tablet and not an XP pen tablet. All the CP913s behave that way. All 4. Yeah, all 4 did that way. It was very odd. Okay, before I continue, I just want to see if I can figure out why this is doing its thing. Let me just reboot this actually, and then we'll pick back up. I'm curious why that didn't work the way I expected. So let me just reboot, because you know rebooting just solves everything. I'm glad I had OTD on this thing. So it's very interesting. There's something just weird going on with how the UD-EMR pens are processed. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain it in a consistent way or a way that explains all the weird things I see. But clearly, no matter what, the behavior is not as good as I'd expect. I do wonder if it's also partially the pen. Yeah, I believe it is, Nick, and I think Audis has tried it, so he can confirm. But I believe it'll let me use the Move Ink as an external display, and I believe it'll also let the pen work. I can't remember that part. Okay, I'm rebooting, and let's get to Open Tablet Driver. You're trying to write now at this? Good. I've always been leery of trying the wireless, honestly. But it's good to know wired works, actually. That's actually very good. I hate using wireless for things like that. It just bothers me. Because in my mind, even if I don't feel it, I just feel like there's got to be a lot of lag. So strange. I must not have Open Tablet Driver configured. Again, the tablet debugger works, which is good. I'll have to figure out why this isn't doing the thing I think it's going to be doing. Because it definitely is. Let me try Windows Ink Absolute Mode again. I wonder if that had anything to do with it. Oops. I may need to restart this. Why is it not... Yeah, definitely it's sensing the pressure. But my app, my testing app, doesn't do it. Do I have Krita installed? I do. Okay, that's actually good. I'm going to do one more test. Because it feels weird to talk about numbers and I'm not drawing something. I'll just draw a thing in Krita. Sure, create that. Whatever, dudes. Whatever. Let's just go ahead and verify that I'm not doing anything weird in the tablet pressure thing. Okay, good. Let's pick a brush. Oh, you can't see it. My mistake. Let's pick a brush. And I think the brush I want is this one, fine liner. Take a look at the settings. Make sure that only one thing is affecting the size. Right? Don't want speed, don't want pressure. I want pressure like this. And then, yeah. Do I notice anything different in Krita? Okay, something must be wrong with the way I've installed Open Tablet Driver because it's working, but apps that rely on Windows... let me double check, it's Windows Ink. Yeah, it is set for Windows Ink. These apps aren't registering it, which is wild, actually. See, it's working in Open Tablet Driver, but it's not moving the mouse. Very strange. Very strange. Okay, that's another debugging thing I'm gonna have to solve. But at least we were able to understand the pressure issue. Interesting. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, so I think we did most of our testing. So we can turn over any other topics, and we'll take any other questions. Let's see. You won't have the mouse cursor, you'll have the Windows ink. And this is, yeah, you'll have the normal Windows ink behavior. So it's behaving like a generic sort of pointing device. Do I have any other... tablets? If this thing's powered up, I might do one more test, actually. Okay, yeah, I'm going to do one more test. I'm going to take a Samsung device and... Oh, guess what? I have a phone. Oh, no, I don't want to use the phone because I may need to use the phone. Let me go get a Samsung device and we'll test the pens there. Okay? So give me a second. Okay, I have the S24 Ultra. So this is, no, sorry, not S24. This is the Samsung S11, Galaxy Tab S11 Ultra. It's my mistake. And, which I just got. And it's all charged up and ready. Let me just set it up. And we'll do one more test on these CP913 and 923, okay? Now this one, let me see if this is gonna work the way I think it is. Okay, I think I can actually, I think this will actually project its screen. Hopefully it will. It'll make it a little bit easier for me to show you what I'm doing. But you have to be a little patient with me. Let's turn it on. Okay, swipe to unlock. You know, to be honest, I haven't used this as much as I thought I would. But that's fine, that's fine. Okay, I need to get to Chrome and where is that darn bookmarks bar? Bookmarks. I want stream, tools, tablet tester. Here we go. Okay. Now, give me a second. Let me confirm. It's not showing up. How can I, well, I'll just show you the overhead. I'll just show you the overhead and that'll be enough. Okay. So, let us move to one of the overheads view. Okay. So, it won't be so clear, but at least it might be enough. And I can do a little bit more of a zoom in so that you can see more clearly what I am doing. Okay, let me double check the questions. Okay, here we go. So CP913. I lost one of my, oh, there it is. Okay. So, let's see. And let me turn off the, I'm gonna not scale the pressure, so it'll always draw. So if you see anything at all, there's pressure. So that's the first pen. Now things are very different now because like there's no texture, this is just smooth glass. And that will account for what what it feels like, okay? That felt more typical to me, to be quite honest. And again, I think the smoothness of the glass affects how you think about how hard you're pressing. I think when there's a lot of texture, it feels like you're pressing harder than you are. Let's try the CP923. Oops. Clear this. You notice when I'm making the stroke, it doesn't draw for a second, right? That's a sign of higher IAF. And I'm going to replicate that with the CP913 in a second, or try to compare them, because that was a very typical way I would draw. Mystery, mystery. What is going on with these things? They felt very similar, so I would call them still high IF. But I will say, having the smoother glass makes it maybe feel like you're not pressing quite as hard, right? So that's another element of this mystery of why sometimes I feel the CP, high IF is higher or lower. So yeah, it's still not like what a Pro Pen 2 would do, right? And if this won't work with the Pro Pen 2, but like if I take out the Move Ink and do the same thing, definitely that's what happens. Okay. Okay, let me catch up the chat and see if there's anything else people are talking about. Looks like there's been a lot of discussion, actually. Okay. Well, I think we've gotten our data, and I will say it does raise more mysteries, but at least you see where I'm standing now. I would say that and I'll add actually my test here. Let me copy this so you can't see what I'm doing. There we go. With the Galaxy Tab S11 Ultra. Copy that, and the driver tested was Android. Both these just seemed high, and I couldn't tell the difference between them, to be quite honest, right? I don't think one was slightly, it didn't seem that way. Not that I could tell. They seemed very similar in this sense. Okay, and let me check the Reddit. Hopefully, I hope that person who asked me. Okay. Well, hopefully they can find this, and we did answer the question, I think, about the pens. They felt typical. They felt, let me just double check. What did they feel? Yeah, they felt typical, right? They didn't feel extremely low. So to me, as I drew, I didn't feel like they had a super low IAF. They just felt typical pen, which is good. That's very important we remember that. They felt good. Okay. Ernest, you agree with me? And I do think, looking back on it, that was one of the reasons I felt like the IF was lower on Samsung devices, was the glass. Because you just notice, with more friction, you notice that you're pressing. With less friction, it's just less obvious that you're pressing. So I think that is what's going on, right? And this is why we test, right? So we can figure out why we are having the experiences we have. So I learned a lot today, actually. And I'm going to have to revise some of my documentation to help clarify these points, right? So, okay, Konto, are those the new Intuos? You're talking about the Wacom 1. Those are the successors of the Intuos. We kind of can tell that because of the model number is very similar, right? So, for example, where is it here? The old Intuos is called CTL 6100WL. So it's think like CTL 6100WL. The new ones are called CTC 6110. So just from the continuation of the numbers, which pen performed the best on the Samsung? To be honest, Rain, it didn't seem to make in terms of IAF, it didn't seem to make a difference. Let me turn on, you ask a good question, because there could be other things about the pressure that matter. So I'm going to try just drawing, actually, right? Let me bring up Infinite Painter, actually. And we'll just draw a little bit, and we'll see what it feels like. I would bring up High Paint, but I'm having trouble restoring my purchases on it. Where is Infinite Painter here? I know I had it. Okay, so I'll just do a quick test to see, like, did the feeling of the drawing change? Okay, so I'll do CP913 first. Okay, and then I'll do CP913. Like, which one felt just better to draw with? And you can probably barely see, there are some strokes here that I'm drawing with. Maybe I can make this a bit bigger. Oh, it's as big as it can get for this brush. It feels so nice to draw with, honestly. Like here it feels very typical with the Samsung, right? Now, why might that be? Why does it feel, right now, as I'm drawing with the CP913, it feels like the IF is maybe even a low end of typical, okay? Drawing. I'm liking how the pen strokes start off thinner. You can't see it so much, but it just feels good. And so now let's do the CP923. This one model, that unit felt good. I do feel like the CP913, and my data shows this, it has a higher IAF. So I would still recommend the CP913 with the Samsung tablet. Okay? So yeah, for a Samsung device, I still think CP913 is a better pen. The IAF may be the same or similar, but the maximum pressure is definitely greater, right? And again, it's weird because it actually feels like there's lower IAF in this app, which is Infinite Painter, than in my testing app. So that's like, why is that? What might be causing that, right? Is it just in my head or not? Very interesting. Escape key, Nick caught me. Yeah, I just accidentally bumped it. This Keychron keyboard seems very prone to having the keys kind of flip off, right? So I think I pulled a cable like this one and I just like took the edge. Is the Ultra taller than an iPad 13 or only wider? Give me a second. We'll answer this question. I'll be right back. Let's show you. Okay, I'm back, and let's try to answer Rain's question. Let's get my overhead view. I probably need to zoom out a little bit. Okay, so what you're seeing on the desk right now is the Samsung S11 Ultra, Tab S11 Ultra. Here's the iPad 13. Okay, so let me just set them on top of each other so you see it. So the iPad, there's a dark border on top of the Samsung. So, but let me just say this: the iPad screen is just a little bit taller, and the iPad screen is obviously noticeably not as wide as the Samsung, right? So let's just put them next to each other so you can see. This is the. Maybe I should. Let me bring up something that you can see more. How do you do this? I don't want that. I want to get. Yeah, let's just get this here. Okay, so you can see the full screen. Okay. So they're very similar in size, though I will say the aspect ratio difference is quite noticeable. I definitely prefer the iPad. This is the 13. Its aspect ratio. It's just better balanced because it's more square than this, right? This one, when you hold this at the edge like this, it's like a lever, and there's a leverage effect. You just feel this pulling down. And this doesn't have it as much. That's all. And just because of, how much it's over there. Ukero says, based on your previous vids, I would assume pressure above 2K is enough, but there's also the feel of the nib. Yeah, and someone has asked me to actually test how it feels with different nibs. But yeah, I definitely think 2K is enough. I think you'd have to really, if you wanted to find the difference at 4K and 8K, you'd have to construct a case, meaning you'd have to carefully engineer a situation where the difference is shown, right? And the challenge I have for anyone is, can you do such a thing like that where, take 10 people and sort of blindfolded, they don't know which pen they're using and which tablet. Well, I guess they need to have they need to not be blindfolded, but without them knowing the pen, can they detect the difference between 1,000, 2,000? And I think you'll see most people just cannot do it, right? But you could probably construct a crazy situation where you'd see it. Yeah, Rain, I really would like that if this had more of, it's just more convenient for a lot of things. Did I ever test out Sidecar? No, I've never tried Sidecar. I've never tried Sidecar. I've always been curious about it. Maybe I'll try that now, because lately, as I mentioned in my previous stream, I have been moving toward a more Mac-oriented world. So I'm streaming off a Mac. My main PC is a Mac. I've got, I use iPods all the time, as you can probably tell. I use a MacBook for some testing as well. And I just ordered the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Should be here in 2 or 3 weeks. I'm super excited about it. Never had an iPhone before. So I'm curious to learn more about the Apple ecosystem, which as a Windows user is alien and yet so different, but also you see it has integrations we just don't have in the Windows world. And I'm enjoying some of that, honestly. And the other part is, this feels so weird for me to say, Windows used to be really interesting to just install Windows and use Windows, because you got a lot of new cool things you couldn't do before. But now Windows as an operating system is sort of like fading into the background. I don't mean it's bad. I just mean the world is moving on to, obviously, things that are in the cloud, AI, and so what the operating system brings you, unless you're writing code, I love writing code on Windows. I don't think I like it on Mac so much. But besides that, I just have apps I need, right? And increasingly more of my apps are online and not installed. Or, maybe I'll transition to Mac only. I don't know. I'm really curious about it. I'm really curious about it. I'll test it out. The Sidecar. So I will say, I don't think if you're a Windows user, desktop user, switching to macOS is a serious change. Like it's not hard, but you are going to have to learn different patterns of behavior. And after 30 years in the software industry, this is normal. Like whenever there's a big change, you are going to be really irritated by the big change, because all your muscle memory is wrong and your way of thinking about things is wrong. And please know this. There are some things Windows does better. And I'm sure of those things, like file management. I think the Mac still struggles with that, and just the UI around it. I think they're getting better though. So yeah, you just got to put in the time. I originally was going to try macOS for just 1 month, and now I think I'm on month 2. And I'm not feeling any sudden urge to go back to Windows, except when I write code. And I don't write code that requires Windows that often these days, right? Let's see. Kanto says, some Redditors, and even some on the 7pen servers, say Sidecar has gotten much better. Okay, I didn't know that. Actually, let me look up Sidecar. I actually do not, to be totally honest, I'm not sure I certainly don't fully understand what it does. Sidecar. And so let me refamiliarize myself with it. Sidecar Apple here. I'll show you what I'm showing. Sidecar allows Mac to use an iPad as a wireless external display. Does Sidecar work wireless? Is it only wireless? The device can also be used as a graphics tablet. Okay, that's good. Sidecar requires a Mac with Skylight. Oh, okay. And an iPad that supports Apple Pencil. Okay, so I always thought Sidecar was just using the iPad as an external display. I didn't realize the pen would also work, or the pencil. So I'm curious to try that. Okay, and Yeah, I'll give it a try soon. Some said they got it working wired also. That's interesting. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna hang on a bit longer. I'm probably gonna end the stream, but if there's more questions, I'll be happy to answer. So let's just see if there's anything else, because I think I accomplished the goal of the stream today. Questions were answered and mysteries were revealed. And tonight I'm working on a video for maximum pressure. And then once I do that, I'll work on another video for this IAF testing, right? But again, I'd like to emphasize the IAF testing was, you should think of that as the beginning of an experiment, not the end. Thanks for stopping by, Kanto. I really appreciate it. It's always fun when we have people who are asking questions and engaged and asking me to try different things, right? Okay, it looks like we don't have too many more questions, so I'm gonna end the stream. Oh, you have the yeah, hang on. Good question. Where is it? Subjective IAF. Let me, hang on. Copy link. I'm gonna put it in the chat, okay? Oh, I don't want everyone to edit. I want everyone to just view. Yeah, okay, anyone? This UI is so scary when you share something with Microsoft OneDrive. It's like, oh, make a link and everyone can edit the file. How about that not be the default? How about creating a shareable link? Okay, anyone can view. Okay, now I think I got. So let me paste in the link into chat. Here it is. Okay, and everyone, thank you. It was another fun stream as always, and I'm sure I'll be streaming again soon. Have a great day.